You're listening to the Flex Success podcast, where we teach you how to be less shit.
I'm your co-host Lizzy, and this is Dean. We'll be covering all topics relating to health, fitness, and bodybuilding.
Join us as we use our in the trenches experience and up-to-date science to provide you with information that you can actually use.
If you like what we do, be sure to give us a like, follow, share, and tag us on social media.
We're back with another great podcast here, Flex Success. I'm joined by co-host Lizzy. I was going to say as always, but not as always. You're not always on here these days. Lizzy,
Sometimes George fills my boots.
It's true. And then we're also joined by Kuba Cielen. Did I get that correct, Kuba?
Kuba Cielen now, actually.
Not even close, Dean.
Sylvester. I should have known Cielen because Polish. C is always a ch.
Yeah, it is. It's all good. It's all good. Don't worry.
Everyone gets my last name wrong 100% of the time, so I feel you.
I'm not even going to try and say it. I'm not going to try and say it.
Well, unless you can speak Arabic, you will not pronounce it correctly, so it's fine.
Mate, well, for everyone that's listening, we got Kuba on the podcast because recently Kuba and I have been catching up for some consult calls at the end of his contest preparation, which he's now 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks out from his first show here in 2024. And we're going to be kicking off some coaching after this. And one of the things I always do is ask people some information on what have they been doing for the past 3 months. And instead of 3 months, Kuba sent me nearly 3 years worth of data. And within that data tracking, he had, hours slept, hours in bed, energy, mood, stools, you name it, basically a ton of information. And one of the things that I could just see from a very quick glance was that you're incredibly organized and you are seemingly locked in on routine. And I think that is a skill that people should lean into in contest prep in order to make it super successful. So we thought we'd get you on, mate, to talk about that. But for those that don't know you first, who are you, Kuba? What do you do? Why do you do it?
Kuba Cielen. I'm an IFBB Pro bodybuilder. I'm a coach. I own a gym. I own a gym equipment brand. And I like to keep my hand in a few pies just to set myself up for the future. But the reason why I bodybuild, it's just always been a passion of mine. And the gym came about from that passion. The very first gym I ever went to from like the age of 15, I always said to myself, like, my goal is to, one, win the NABA Junior Universe. I managed to tick that off and one day open a gym. And I managed to take that second goal off in 2017, January 9th. So it's just been a slower build up from there. And that's how the journey started, without boring people to death with, all the other details. But that's just a bit of a lowdown. If people want the full story, we can do an episode on the full story, but that's not the topic today, is it?
Kuba, I feel like you're very young to have ticked off these enormous bucket list items. Do you still have a 2 in front of your age?
29, yeah.
Oh my God, stop. God, I feel like such a loser, Dean.
What does one do to celebrate their 30?
What else is on the bucket list now? You've got a long time to go.
On the bucket list, I've got quite a few goals that I want to tick off, 100%. Like bodybuilding wise, that's the priority. But for me, it's almost like the discipline that I get from bodybuilding spills over to other things, because the discipline that I can keep and the routine I can keep allows me to be quite efficient at doing the other tasks to keep on top of the business. Now, another thing that I always look at is, if I just had bodybuilding, I had nothing else, I don't think mentally I would be in a good place, because one, I am a lot in my head, and that's the main reason why I want to work with Dean, because I haven't had a coach in a long time, and I think Dean's definitely the right person for me with just the way he is, and it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. But anyway, I think a lot of bodybuilders, the reason why mentally just not in a good spot is because they don't have anything but bodybuilding. So for me, the only things that I can do that are not going to affect my bodybuilding is get stuck into the business, like the coaching, like having a gym, and like having other ventures that don't necessarily require me to be there in person, actively working, but just manage it on a basis where I have people that work for me or work with me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So have you built this routine because there was a stage where you didn't have it and you noticed it was lacking, or you were struggling to be productive?
a very good question, actually. Yes. So the breakout moment and the year where I had to really get my shit together, my routine, was 2020. That was the first year where I competed as a pro. I turned pro really early. I should, way too early than I should have. But anyway, that was the first year when I actually did my pro debut. And in that same day, I had 14 athletes competing on the same day. So that was the year where I really had to get my shit together from a routine standpoint to be able to not only be a great bodybuilder, but also be able to service the people that I'm working with and not miss. And a lot of people in the bodybuilding, they often say that you can't do other things whilst bodybuilding, but I'm of a very different opinion of that, because if you can keep a great routine, you can keep a great schedule, it actually complements your bodybuilding. Like, I'll give you an example right now in prep, Lizzy. I'm 2.5 weeks out. Condition wise, I've still got a little bit more to go. Dean seen the pictures, etc. But I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like I'm even in prep. I have no food focus. I'm not really that tired. And the main reason for that is, like, my days are quite busy. But my days are busy, yes. But because I'm so efficient with my days, I have the time to have a nap. I have the time to actually have downtime. I have the time to spend time with my wife. And I have the time in the evening to put my phones away and not have to think about anything and watch something like fucking Bridgerton's on Netflix. But in order for me to be able to do that, I need to wake up at 5 a.m. I need to get on top of my work before my clients even wake up. Because in that way, within that first 90-minute window of my day, I can get so much more work done because, one, I have no distractions. Two, I'm so much more productive in the morning. So I can wake up and I'm fucking straight in the zone and I'm getting stuck in, getting the shit done. And then once I've done the hardest bits of the day, rest of the day is just super easy because I still have got bits to do, yes, but they're not mentally challenging. And because I've done the mentally challenging things already, like, I feel fresher mentally and physically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And this is a string that I think is worth pulling on, because I know I've spoken to people in the past about routines, and one of the common counter arguments to that is, oh, I don't want to be locked in. I don't want to be imprisoned. I don't want my freedom taken away from me. But actually, Kuba, you've just shown how actually a routine gives you freedom. It doesn't take it away. It means that, like you said, you can have a nap, you can put your phones away. It gives you the freedom to do that. Your work doesn't spill over into your whole day where you don't have time for your relationships and relaxing and passion.
Yeah, so in past, I always felt like I was constantly stressed and I always felt like I had no time for anything. And I felt like I always felt like I was catching up on my day because I did not have that routine in place. So it's like I would do things in random where I'd do a little bit of work, then I'd do something else, and then I'd go back to it. And it's just, when you don't have that structure in place, one, you get less work done, but two, you also have much less freedom and much less free time to be able to do anything. So that's been a massive game changer for me, because it's funny you actually mention that, because I was of the same opinion back in the day when I was a little prick. And that's the way. I'm still a prick now, but I'm less of a prick now.
And larger.
But yeah, 100%. But I was of the same opinion. It's like I don't want to do that because it's going to take some of the freedom away. But it's like, now I probably have the most freedom I've ever had in my life, but I'm also the busiest I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, best of both worlds.
There's this like fine line of being in routine where you enjoy it, not so much so that you can't do anything else, but the being able to tick the box off and say all of this is done is the mental freedom that I think is the biggest thing towards the end of the day. Because otherwise you're just constantly thinking, what else do I have to do, like you said?
It's not just that, Dean, but I wake up every day, and just because I'm awake at a certain time, that's already a win. When I complete my task for the day, like, it feels good to be able to get on top of stuff. So when I break my day down, it's almost like I'm taking these small little wins and achievements every single day, constantly throughout my day. Now, people undervalue how good that will actually make you feel if you can actually get that done. Like the simple little thing for me is like going to bed at the same time every day and waking up at the same time every day, which is something that's the hardest thing for me to do, to try and get my clients to do. It's just impossible. It really is. But for me personally, it makes me feel amazing because it's almost like that's already an accomplishment. And I know that by doing so, I'm not only going to be much more switched on to be able to be more productive, but I'm also going to make more progress in the gym. I'm going to be a better bodybuilder. So all these little things are already setting me up to start my days better. And it's another thing where I've had a bit of a massive eye opener, and that's for a business partner, Charles Morden. I did a lot of like mentorship sessions with him. He's one of the most successful people I know, and he always said, like, look, whenever you get stuck into any tasks, don't try and multitasks. Don't try and multitask. Multitasking does not fucking exist. It doesn't work. So the biggest thing that I've also learned is when I work, nothing else exists. One thing at a time. You have to put your focus onto that one task that you've got ahead of you. Once that task is done, then you can move on to the next task. And I think where a lot of people get it wrong is they try to do multiple things at the same time, and it's just never going to be as efficient. And it's pulling your focus away from all these different things, because the mindset that you need to have, for example, to do your check-ins is completely different to the mindset that you need to have for programming. It's a completely different mindset that you need to have a business call with someone, or it's a completely different mindset you need to have a consultation with someone, or anything else that you may have to do in your day. So all these little things, to some people, it might sound like, oh my God, it's so rigid, it's so, it's so locked in, but
It's focused.
It's one, it's focused. Two, it allows me to be efficient. But three, it gives me so much more time in the day to do whatever I want, because I can get so much more done in a smaller time frame, meaning that I can have 3 to 4 hours in a day to go and do whatever I please. Whereas beforehand, when I wasn't as busy as I am right now, I literally had no spare time because I was constantly dipping in and out of work. I was constantly dipping in and out of different tasks. And it would take me twice as long to get shit completed. And where this has most value in a contest prep is my meal time in a structure is to the minute. And that's great because it needs to be really. My water intake is accounted for. But when you have a dialed in routine, it's second nature. I don't have to think about these things. They just get done because it's not just discipline. It's more so the habits that I've built over time. And don't get me wrong, I've not always been like this. I haven't. But getting to a certain point in my life where I wanted to be better as a bodybuilder and I wanted to be better as a person, it's forced me to build these habits up over time. And one thing I've noticed is as well is as I grow older, these habits actually get better. And it's like I can't tell you like how the little things, how much happiness they can give me. Like right now, I'm on a decent cycle from a prep, right? Most people would probably feel like crap on it. And let me tell you, Liz, Andy, when I wake up every day, I wake up happy. When I go out for a morning walk, I'm happy. When I sit at my desk to work, I'm happy. There's not a single time in the day when I feel miserable, right? And when you look, and most people would probably look at what I'm doing, they'd probably think, well, it probably doesn't feel that good. But genuinely, I do because of all the little things that I'm doing, right? I know it's a bit of a ramble, but
No, not at all. I like the ramble. I didn't even think it was a ramble. I like the spiel because I suppose we're all looking for those little dopamine hits, aren't we? But people get them from things that take away from their goal, like scroll Instagram.
Right.
Instead of doing things that actually push them further, either towards their goals or just acting in alignment with their values. So you're feeling actually good and it's moving you forward instead of scrolling Instagram, getting these little hits, and it's taking away from the things that you really want to be doing and the things that make you feel fulfilled. So it's yeah, I love it.
Do you know one thing that's made me feel like a million times better? How much time do you spend on Instagram? Either of you?
Oof,
You don't know.
I don't know.
I've got a timer on my phone. I only get 60 minutes a day on my Instagram,
Okay,
and then it logs me out.
right.
I kid you not.
That's
60 minutes sounds like a long time, right?
It does.
Right. 60 minutes for me is going on there, making a post. Well, actually two, because I do 2 posts a day. 2 posts, posting up my stories, and I actually have like highlights, my favorites of people I actually want to see.
Right.
So I have a look at people that I want to see, and I'm pretty much logged out. But my goal every single day is actually not to get to the point where it's logging me out. It's actually to spend less time on it. And I kid you not, the less time I spend on social media, the better. And YouTube's a little bit different because the subscription I've got on YouTube is mostly stuff that I actually get value from. It's stuff that, one, I'm interested in and I'm happy watching, and it kind of provides value, whether it's education or entertainment to a degree. It's mainly bodybuilding and boxing. That's all it is. So it's a little bit different because I'm not just scrolling and I'm putting a podcast on and I listen to that for, you know, an hour or whatever time I have spare to do so. With Instagram, it's a lot different. You scroll through and you're almost chasing that next thing. And for me, the only times where I've had dips in energy, dips in mood, and when I actually felt quite negative was through doing that. And I think it's designed to make people depressed and dependent on it. That's just my opinion, though. You know, I might be wrong, whatever. But
That opinion is very well backed up in psychology, that there's a very strong positive correlation between time spent on social media and depression and anxiety.
well, let me tell you one thing, right? 100 years ago, anxiety wasn't a thing, or depression wasn't a thing. And I might sound like a prick right now, but when I was young, I spent a lot of time on my uncle's farm and my granddad's farm, right? And there was very, very busy people. It would be a very early wait time, and the days would be stacked. So you didn't have time to even think about feeling whatever. So if I was ever to turn around to my granddad and nan say, Nan, I feel depressed, I feel a certain way, they wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. But I think all these little things that we have right now, I think they influence that a lot. And don't get me wrong, some people clinically, they do have more issues than others. And one of my family members actually does. So I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, because it can. But a lot of things can actually influence that. A little bit off topic, yeah. But yeah, there's so much value to just not using socials for that reason. More so using socials for a little bit of education, if you can. And I think where possible, following the right accounts as well makes a big difference. And one thing that I'm still kind of battling with is like, I somewhat want to unfollow a lot of people that I just don't want to see the shit. But I know for a fact, it's probably going to upset them.
I have a solution.
Mute them.
Yeah, that's what I mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mute everyone. Not everyone. There's a lot of people I mute because I was like, oh, it would be hard to justify it, but their shit either, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Grinds me the wrong way. They're selling out, whatever it is.
I get it. But I've got my favorites though, so I can just click on the favorites and let's just see my favorites.
Well, it's funny, man. Years ago now, I think it was actually when we did a podcast with Eugene Teolis. After that, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go through and remove everybody that either doesn't provide me value, isn't a friend or a client. And that were pretty much my 3, like, you know, prerequisites to stay on my friends list. You know,
I'm not gonna lie. I've done a lot of that recently. I'm just like.
So that even if I get caught in the flick, I'm at least seeing people that I'm interested in. But if I start to see anyone where I'm like, how have they gotten through the filter? I'm straight over and removing them, because I think, like you said, Kuba, that this is part of the thing with your routine as well, is that social media often is reminding people of what they don't have or what they want, not what they do have and can appreciate. So they're just constantly being told, like, you could be better, this is better. And we also know that it's a bit of a
I watch a lot of your social media, and I often think this is amazing. This is what I want to do somewhat. in my later life. But another point that I kind of want to bring up, and that is definitely very much, related to the routine side of things. What time do either of you go on Instagram?
Well, it's difficult for us because we never live in the same time zone as like our friends and family. So
Generally, come on.
okay, after a morning walk, I'll check my messages and reply. And then maybe after I finish work in the afternoon, I'll do it again.
I don't touch it till 12 o'clock every day.
Okay.
And what I'll generally do is for my first post, I'll write it in my notes. And then obviously I'll have the video lined up so I can just copy the notes, get on the video, post it, and that kind of limits the time that I'm on there. And then obviously I'll need to reply to the comments. I'll need to reply to the messages. And that in itself sometimes can take like 15, 20 minutes. So for me, the reason why I don't go on it to 12 o'clock at least, well, that's kind of like the earliest. It's between 11 and 12, but I make sure that all my work is finished before I actually go on Instagram. Well, the work is never really finished, as you both know with coaching. But my point is the big stuff, the stuff that's,
time sensitive shit.
Of the highest importance, right? The check-ins, the main replies, the people that are competing, etc. All that needs to be completed first. Then I get to go on Instagram and do the shit on there. Because I'll admit it, it's like you straight away, as soon as you open that app, you do get a bit of a dopamine hit. Because what's the first thing that pops up? Likes, follows, likes, follows, comments. And it's like, it shouldn't make you feel good, but it does, and as shallow as that might sound, it does make you feel good, no matter who you are, no matter how, little ego you have. If you wake up, you click on that Instagram and you've had, 50 people follow you, 1,000 likes, 30 comments, whatever it is, it's going to make you feel fucking good.
Well, you've heard it here first, everyone. Kuba has admitted to being a human being.
You get my point, though. You get my point, because some people won't admit
No,
that.
I absolutely do. What I'm saying is I think it's normal.
Yeah. Some people won't admit that either. Some people are like, oh, it doesn't bother me. Like, like better. Okay, mate. Whatever.
Sure. But before we close the chapter on social media, I think an important point here is that, Dean mentioned, what did you say, Dean? That like you compare yourself, it's people's highlight reels, it's not real life. I think there's two ways we can look at it. We can either look at people who are at least portraying themselves as being further ahead than you. Maybe they're photoshopping their photos or, lying about how many clients they have, or maybe they really are further ahead than you. I don't know. We can either compare ourselves and feel shit, or we can look at that and use it as inspiration. How can I be better? A little bit of motivation, maybe, because I do think that the people that you surround yourself with, either digitally or in real life, do influence you. Maybe if you do think they are further ahead than you, befriend them, ask them for mentorship. There's a destructive way and a constructive way to look at this, and it's up to you.
I think that's very much a personal thing. I think it's a person dependent thing, because every time I see someone do well, I'm genuinely happy for them. Like I use that as somewhat of motivation, and like my business partners that I'm working with, like they do a lot better than me, and that doesn't make me feel bad. I look at that and I think, wow, this is possible if you put the work in. So I think perception is everything. A lot of people will look at stuff like that and they'll feel shit, they'll feel bad about themselves. But seeing other people do well, whether it's bodybuilders that are better than you, that should uplift you. It's like this, right? My wife, she just won 2 pro shows, qualified for Olympia, right? And someone commented on Instagram saying like, basically saying how I feel about it, like that she's doing so well and stuff. I'm like, well, firstly, it inspires me a lot to do better. Secondly, like I could not be any happier for her, because I want it for her just as bad as she wants it. And it's the same on business partners. Like if you looked at a business partner's social media, you probably wouldn't think he does as well as he does, but he's another level. And a lot of people probably look at that and they'd think, well, you know, prick or whatever. You know, they'd look at that and like kind of snub it. But it's like, I know where he came from to get to where he is, and that is extremely inspiring. And I get that with a lot of people. And I think it's more so a personality trait. And I think sometimes it comes with a little bit of maturity, because I think a lot of people, it's not that they're jealous out of being malicious. I think it's just more so a maturity thing, that they just need to change perception on how they look at life in general.
Mm.
You know, or
Maybe
they
just-
don't know how to deal with looking at themselves in the mirror with like a legitimate, like objective sort of like, what am I doing right and what am I doing wrong? Because it's fucking hard to acknowledge that you're doing things poorly, or like Liz said to you before, that are destructive to your goals or that are taking you further away from your goals. That's a harsh reality to sometimes to have.
It's easy to blame other people for lack of your own efforts, right? And I think lack of the own effort, again, it all comes back into the daily routine and how you go about your day to day and what your habits are on a daily basis, because ultimately it is your daily habits and how you execute your day to day that's ultimately going to lead to long-term success, or even short-term success, or any success really.
Yeah. I think you can tell me if I'm wrong here, Kuba, but it sounds to me like most, and I've read about this, so it's interesting whether or not it was a choice of yours or it's something you learned, but it seems to me that you're very good at choosing task-specific energy. And what I mean by that is you know that at 11 o'clock, you can give this amount of energy to this kind of task, being social media. You know that, you know, the energy that you require or the focus you require for check-ins is best done at this time. And I think like a lot of people would recognize this in very basic things. Like, you know, you wouldn't, for example, or maybe some people would, play opera music and then go train if you need task-specific energy to work you, you know, to get you going. But for some reason, people disassociate this in the workspace. You know, like whether it's creative or you know, like repetition or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I'll always say to people, my priority, and the reason why bodybuilding is always the priority, is because bodybuilding has pretty much molded my life into what it is. So it's, without bodybuilding, I wouldn't be where I am right now, right? And it's still like the main priority for me, is still the main passion. So for me, everything that I do in my day, it's to make my life as a bodybuilder somewhat easier. So like with the tasks and the importance of tasks that you mentioned, if I do my check-ins bright and early, not only am I more efficient at my check-ins, but it gives me a window of time where I can actually unwind and relax before training and get my head switched on for training time. So if all my work is complete 2 hours before I train, I've got 2 hour window then to eat my meal, focus on training. If there's any little replies that I need to do, that's fine, but it's not really draining. So I'm fresh from a training session. So it's always been, for me, it's always been like, what can I do to make my life easy as a bodybuilder? And making your life easier sometimes is just making better choices when it comes to scheduling your routine and scheduling work time.
And honestly, I think that's such a good summary of why it's so important to have a routine to make your life easier.
Make your life easier and actually have more freedom. 100%, 100%, because I honestly, 2019, 2018, I was already very busy with coaching, right? Sometimes I've been up doing check-ins to like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And back then I was already with Meg, and she was working back then, still working at a corporate in a bank. So as you can imagine, she was going to bed at like 9 o'clock. And you know, if I'm working for that time, we aren't spending any time together. So, you know, it only makes sense to get your shit together to not only be more efficient at your work, to execute better, probably be a better bodybuilder, or be better in any sport that you're doing.
Be a better partner.
Well, be a better partner as well, yeah, 100%. And that's a big thing, because I've been a shit partner before, I'm not gonna lie. So
I think we all have our moments, don't we?
That flows
Not
back
Dean.
though, because right, like yeah, definitely me. Yeah, that flows back though. Like if you know that you're disappointing the relationship, and then you go and do a task that you feel like you have to do, like train, for example, because you do, but then while you're training, you're like, fuck, I have not spent enough time at home, you know, in the last, or with Meg specifically. affects your training.
Distracted.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you can get all these little things ticked off, training time, nothing else exists. Like for me, I don't have my phones with me in training. We use a phone to film, yes, but I never, 2.5 hours in the gym whilst I'm in the gym, I don't go on the phone ever, unless I've got a client competing. That's just an exception. Then I do. But apart from that, no phone allowed, nothing. And that's another thing that actually makes training time so much more special. It really does, because I almost find in a way, when I used to go on my phone in between my sets, etc., it didn't feel quite as good as it does now. Like, I'll give you an example. Right now, sometimes I'll be in the gym dragging my feet a little bit, but like no matter what, I'm still having a great session because it's just me and the weights, nothing else. Because all the other shit that I've had to do, it's all done. You know, so I'm ready, I'm good to go. And then obviously, as soon as you finish training, you get back to work, you finish all your applies, etc. And then, you know, it's a bit of a circle, but it's a lot to kind of uncover. It's a lot to it's a lot to cover when it comes to daily routine in general, because it spills onto so many other things that I don't think people actually realize it does the effects, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, training without a phone can be a bit meditative.
Yeah. Yeah. But even then, you were just talking about, like you talked about right at the beginning about not multitasking. That's not multitasking training too.
Yeah. And since I've done that, and it's probably been about, I'd probably say about 2 years training without a phone, it like training just feels 100 times better. I'm not gonna lie.
What do you
It
listen
really,
to when you train, Kuba?
it depends what mood I'm in. It can be variety, either house music, it could be like dirty rock, like really savage stuff. It depends what mood I'm in.
Okay, all right.
And
I've
sometimes
recently gotten into Arabic rap.
Arabic rap.
Yeah.
Good.
I sometimes listen to Polish rap, I'm not gonna lie. It's actually pretty good, because it's like, it's pretty hardcore, I'm not gonna lie. It's like,
Okay. Oh,
it's
I'll
like
search it in Spotify.
it's
Yeah, that's going on my list.
hardcore, like gangster rap, like, but you'd need to understand what they're saying in a way. But it's sometimes I literally put my headphones on and I'll not even have any music on, just so people don't speak to me.
So once upon a time, I had earpods that were actually connected to a cord that you plug into your phone. And people would always talk to me too, but when you put the earphones in, they don't. But I wouldn't connect it to my phone sometimes. I would just stuff the end into my bra and I'd call it boob radio.
Yes,
And I was
yes,
listening to my boob.
yeah. Do you know
So
what
they
though?
don't talk to me.
It makes such a difference, because obviously I train in the gym that I own, so I'm always nice to people, but people have definitely learned to kind of leave me alone on training now.
Yeah.
But when I don't have headphones, there will be always people that come up and, you know, try and talk. But now headphones are on and
Boob radio.
I make no eye contact ever until I'm finished.
Yeah.
You know, if someone comes up and says, "Oh, I want a picture," whatever, I'll do it, yes. But I try to just make as little eye contact as possible and just crack on.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, training time's like our time, right?
We'll look for the photo where Kuba's actually giving the person next to him the death stare. You know, it's like, oh, that was an intra-training photo. This one was a post-training photo.
That's funny.
That's happened a few times. I'm not gonna lie, yeah.
I want to know, Kuba, where in your day do you have time to think about and run the gym equipment business that you have? Because you've got a lot of things going on.
So luckily, I've got a very hard working business partner.
Okay.
So generally, we'll catch up twice a week, and if there's anything that he needs support with, he will just call me. So we speak back and forth every single day. Especially now, we're just pretty much expanding the premises, so we're having to move out of the unit that we have now, because we need double the space. So it's quite a lot of work with that. But for me, the role that I actually have is just supporting him. He's the man that does all the groundwork. For me, it's more so promo, helping design the equipment. So I will pop down to the factory, design the equipment, and more so just giving him any help that he needs. So it's more so, hello Tom, like today we've got a call at, I think 4:30, just to go over some stuff. So it's yeah, generally it's just day-to-day talking, which is perfect for me.
I love that a real human bodybuilder is designing gym equipment, because Dean and I, because we travel so much, have trained in gyms all around the world. And we can tell you, we've got on equipment before and we're like, did they even trial this? Does somebody who lift actually design this? I don't think so. There's no thought. So I'm sure you're doing a much, much better job. Hey, shout out to your brand for those who haven't heard of it before.
Yeah, so it's Nitram Gym Equipment.
Cool.
And Ultraflex Gym Rotherham, and we actually have the second gym that's in the pipeline. I'm not saying where it is yet, but the second gym is on, and it will be in a big city, and it's going to be a big one. It's going to be the one. So I'll.
Covent Gardens, London.
No, I wish. But it's going to be just as good in terms of location.
Okay.
But when I can say in about a month's time, we'll announce it and go over it properly. Yeah.
Very much looking forward to it.
2025?
Pardon?
2025 or?
Yeah, 2025. Won't be any earlier because we've already ordered all the equipment, and as you can imagine, the lead times on equipment are absolutely a joke. So basically, the gym's going to be ready this year, but we'll have to wait for the equipment to open. So it's going to be sometime next year.
Okay. Yeah, that blew my mind. Would have had friends that have purchased like Atlantis equipment or Prime equipment. It's like 10 to 12 months.
Yeah. It Prime's 12 to 14 months now.
Yeah.
So.
Now we like to wrap up the show with a couple of segments. I think we're going to shoot Dean straight to something worth sharing. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, sure.
So this is when anybody on the podcast, a guest or a host, it doesn't matter, shares some resource, a book, a quote, I don't know, food, a location that you want to share with the audience. Kuba, does something spring to mind? If not, I can think of something.
Yeah, I think if you haven't read it, Rich Dad Poor Dad. If you haven't read it, definitely give it a read. That was actually one of the very first books I actually read. My business partner gave it me in like 2020. And I was already very good when it came to managing finances, like extremely good, because I was brought up very poor. So I had nothing. So I still live like I have nothing. But I'm a simple man. I don't need much to make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people, if they read that book financially, they would be so much better off. And I think, although money isn't really something that, is that important, I think money does give you a bit of freedom. And if you have lack of money, it can probably give you a bit of stress as well. So if people can manage the finances better, their life is probably going to be a little bit better as well.
Yeah, I think there's a level to money making, right? There's enough to cover what you need. And then there's like luxury money. Yeah.
And I think you get to a certain point where making more doesn't really do you more. Like, it's just like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there'll be a huge difference to somebody's well-being from earning minimum wage to being in the comfortable middle class. For sure, their life will be more comfortable.
Absolutely.
But beyond that, all you're doing is giving up more of your time and energy to excess.
You actually making your life worse.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Okay. Last segment. Would you rather? Dean, you want to come up with?
I want to know who we gave Kuba last time. I can't even remember it. But then
do you remember what the would you rather we asked you last time was?
Can't remember. It was a good one. It was a good one.
All right. Would you rather? I'll keep it on topic. Everyone has 24 hours in the day. Would you rather only have 22? So you have to give up 2 hours while everyone else maintains their 24. Don't ask me how this would actually work. This is just very theoretical. Or every time you're training some lower body movement, you always feel like you're on the verge of sharting yourself.
I already feel like I'm on the verge of sharting myself anyway, so
that's what you're going for.
No problems. And if I do shart myself, double wipe, get changed, let's go.
He's a problem solver.
And I'm not gonna lie. I have sharted a few times anyway.
Doing what?
So actually on leg press, so
really. I've one time been listening to really loud music and I definitely farted, but because my music was so loud, I didn't know how loud it was. Like, do I take my earphones out, look around and laugh, or do I ignore it because I'll just be dubbing myself in?
Oh no, that would set me about. Women don't fart. They should not fart.
It's only occasionally men to shit themselves, but women can't fart.
No. Honestly, so my wife, we've been together a long time now, whatever. She has not farted once in front of me. and she's not allowed to.
Oh,
Anything
Dean
else-
and I
listen,
have been together 10 years. We still don't fart on purpose in front of each other.
anything else goes. She can even throw up on me. I don't care. And there's probably been some incidents during the more intimate moments that's probably been a bit disgusting, but that's a different story. That doesn't count.
Okay.
That doesn't count.
Would you like to share those stories?
So
Probably not.
This is the double standard. Do you fart in front of Meg?
Probably not, because people think I'm disgusting. Yeah. Oh yeah, come on, mate. I'm a man, of course.
Oh, that is so sexist and unfair. Oh my God. Cancel
100%.
Kuba.
Come on,
We're
yeah.
canceling Kuba.
Come on. I told you, I'm still a bit of a prick, so.
I just think it's hilarious that you openly share sharting stories. And I tell you about the one time I farted on a leg press and you're like, ooh.
No. Right. Guys, part 2. If you want to do a part 2, I'm in. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you both. I've got my physio guy waiting, so I'm going to go and get a massage.
Love
I
it.
appreciate you both. I appreciate you, Dean. Those who don't know, obviously, I will be working with Dean moving forward, so I'm very much excited for that, and I do appreciate it. It's been something I've been thinking about for a long time, and he's definitely the right man that I wanted to go with. So I'm very excited, guys.
Great.
I appreciate you both. For another part 2, I'm always game. So thank you.
We'd love to. We'll put your handles in the show notes for those who want to follow along. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Take
You get
care.
a massage.